Please welcome Nora Garrett, the screenwriter, Michael Stuhlbarg, Ayo Edebiri, Andrew Garfield, Julia Roberts, and we're going to have a dramatic late entrance by Luca Guadagnino, who's on his way at this moment. But since most films start with a screenplay,
oh, good.
We're going to start with you.
Great.
Obviously, this movie tackles a lot of thorny issues altogether. And I'm wondering if you can just talk about what the inspiration was for the screenplay and why you wanted to push all these buttons at the same time.
Wait, pause, time out. Time out.
Oh, this just in.
Please welcome Luca Guadagnino.
Oh my God, this is the worst nightmare of all. Sorry to be late. Sorry, guys. I was checking the print in the Walter Reed Theater. The Alice Tully, sorry. Hello, hello.
How does it look?
It looks good. It sounds great. It's an amazing cinema. We're so proud to be here. Thank you.
Happy to have you. Welcome. So, since you weren't here, the first tough question got lobbed at Nora.
Yeah.
What happened?
Hi. I would say that it certainly wasn't my intention in writing it to, my first construction in going into writing was not thinking about how many potential buttons to push simultaneously. The genesis of the screenplay really started with the character of Alma, played by Julia Roberts. And I was really interested in her internal struggle, this idea of becoming a very outwardly successful person, becoming someone who was looking for power, chasing power, but had this sort of internal compartmentalization based on a certain amount of shame from childhood or from a place when you had a certain amount of plausible deniability about the person you were and the person you would become. So the story kind of grew around that.
And then the two of you at some point worked on the screenplay together. Can you talk about what developments you might have added in your work together?
Yeah, one of the great pleasures of my life is to work with writers that are brilliant like Nora. And this was quite a brisk process. I read the script, Julia read the script, we met, we said, let's do it. And then, the morning after, I was already chatting with Nora more and more. I think when you get the script that is so good and so strong, the duty is to make sure that the embodiment is reflected in the script. And because we had the privilege of working with such an incredible cast, we wanted to make sure that every character could become the perfect character for each of them to play, and to get their inputs into it as well.
So, speaking of the cast, I'm wondering how you tackled your characters in terms of them not being entirely likable, and whether that's each character you take on is just a challenge, or whether there were particular things that you had to think about or do because of the complexity of these particular characters.
I think you gotta start, baby. I'm so sorry.
It's so early to talk about a movie like this. I think for me, a lot of conversations with Luca about Alma. It's everything that is natural to Alma is unnatural to me as a human. And so it was interesting trying to find ways into that and and it all really ended up coming together. I was able to internally articulate it for myself in finding the inroads with each of the characters with my castmates, particularly with Michael. I think Michael and his approach to Frederick really helped me figure out how to portray Alma in a lot of ways. I mean, everybody helped. Basically, I was just piggybacking on my castmates all along the way. But it was complicated. It was tricky material for sure. Next.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first conversation I had with Luca is where I think that process started for me, because I also feel like Maggie is somebody who's like completely unlike me in a lot of ways, in how she carries herself and in her principles. But I was just really fascinated by that, and also I think really interested in me as a person, like what was it about her that was like so frustrating to me or so repulsive even at moments. And I was really, I don't know, excited for the challenge to get to tackle that, like with a cast and crew, and that, I don't know, just was so like thoughtful and so interested in making these people as sort of thorny as they can be, like three-dimensional human beings. And I think it was like a fun might not be the right word, but sort of like Rorschach test or something. And I feel like the process of finding these characters with each other, of exploring the text, of just like working with Luca, it was all sort of that. And like, what are the implicit biases that we have, and all these, you know, thoughts and conversations, and then the act of being able to then get to work and like let go of those conversations and just kind of be in the moment. Yeah, was kind of the start of that. He wants you to go.
I don't think, at least I don't, start out processes with the idea of likability at all. I think it's mostly a collaboration with these wonderful people, with our director, with the text, the extraordinary text that we're given, and that's usually the starting point for me in any project. And I think in regards to these characters, they are all so focused and so busy and so preoccupied and so brilliant individually that I don't think they have time for likability, and frankly, I don't think they think about it either. I think their lives are very stimulating as they can make them. That's why they do what they do. And I think how they're judged says as much about the people judging as it does about the individuals that they might be judging. I'll say that about likability, and the process is, it really does start with the extraordinary script we're given, plus the wonderful curveballs that our director throws at us about all the other dimensions of who we are as individuals, what the background is of who this person could be. Luca gave me, and I'm sure all of us, extraordinary treasure troves of who they are, why they're there, why the rooms look like they do. The history of, the first scene that you're privy to in jumping into the film, in the background there are photographs of the family that used to live there and of the family that does live there, and all of that ties into who these people are. The layers go on impossibly deep and much further than I know I would ever be able to swim in or understand entirely. That's scratching the surface for you.
I'll say something very quickly because everyone said everything so brilliantly. It was fun, and it was a very joyful set. led by Julia and Luca for sure. And I think when you're working with material that is exploring the darker shades or the parts of our own collective humanity that we tend to want to avoid looking at, we need as much levity and brightness and community and togetherness as possible, so that there was a thread running through all of us on set, and it was a joyful experience. And I think because, like everyone said, the ability to explore these aspects of our own humanity with a kind of a tether to Luca, knowing that we're safe to do so, it was deeply pleasurable. And I think for the character I play, Hank, I think he's acutely aware of the concept of likability, the concept of being, what it means to be likable, and what the culture requires of one to be likable. And I think he enjoys playing with his own relationship to that, other people's relationship to that, how other people relate to him. He's a provocateur in a lot of ways, and I think he's very, very conscious of what he's doing a lot of the time, and deeply unconscious of what he's doing a lot of the time as well. So it is, again, beautifully written, contained beautifully by Luca, who just wants all of your nuance, all of your humanity, no matter how dignified or undignified it is. And it was a really joyful, creative, liberated, expressive, artistic process that we all had together.
The script and the film are purposefully elliptical about certain specifics. And I'm wondering, for the cast members, whether you had definite ideas about what happened in certain instances, even the scenes in which you might not have been a participant, and if you talked about them amongst yourselves, or if you each maintained your own idea of what reality was.
No, sorry, I gotta jump in. So, yeah, I mean...
Speak for all of us, Andrew.
I will. So I know exactly what happened.
Next question, please.
Unequivocally. No, I think... I'll speak for myself, and Ayo and me, we did have like
For me.
a brief...
Okay. Sorry, kidding.
We did have a brief conversation before we started shooting about... we kind of danced around it, and I think in a way that it was helpful to us, that we didn't want to actually be defined together. Yeah. So I definitely have my own impression of this major event, and as the character, and then I have to somehow, maybe we both somehow have to do the magic trick of going, but what don't I know about what I did? What don't I know about what happened? What don't I know about what happened in the moment where I was doing what I did? What don't I know about that? What is happening below my conscious awareness? And that's where it gets really hard and fun and like exciting and horrible. And the only way we get to the healing, I think, for all of us is by traveling through all of those kind of second layer materials, like those unconscious materials, those unconscious drives, because underneath that is the kind of interconnectedness of everything as far as I'm concerned. But the only way through is to go down through all of that horrible mishigas that we all collectively share. Bless you.
Don't you want Andrew to be your therapist? Because he's my therapist, and I feel great.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I have to add to that. Yeah, I don't know. It was good mishigas. I liked your mishigas. Yeah, I think in a similar way to real life, there was just an awareness that, like, in the same space that we can share maybe either a specific or a general truth together, then there could be things that we completely misunderstood or have completely different perspectives of, being in the same moment, having the same conversation, hearing the same thing, but taking away completely different things and feelings. So I think, yes. I think, but I don't know. We had some conversations, but I think leaving space for us to go away and do whatever disappearing acts we needed to do with each other, and also like, you know, would have separate conversations with Luca and vice versa. Yeah.
Harkening back to something Michael said during the, I wonder if you can speak about the specificity of setting the film at Yale, both, you know, as a concept of naming a specific university rather than an imaginary one, but also the lengths to which you went to make the Yale feel authentic in London. There are some Yaleys on the staff who are very impressed with the experience of seeing Yale so faithfully recreated. I don't know if the question starts with you. I don't know if that was with the script and then moves to you.
So I did set it at Yale. Truthfully, I was writing this on spec without an agent or a manager, so I kind of thought that would never pass any legal process were this to get made. But I think that, you know, a very visual writer. I had been to Yale's campus a couple of times. I have family members who went to Yale. But something that really interested me about Yale as an institution is it's in New Haven. And so it's sort of this like castle on a hill in an area that doesn't have the same access to the affluence and power that Yale holds within its walls. So it's sort of this very clear, stark difference between like a powerful institution that comes from a lot of old money and a city that has a lot of economic turmoil surrounding it. And I thought it was interesting to have people and like the semi-permeable membrane of the institution of Yale and how little the surroundings of the city in which Yale was penetrated that membrane.
Well, and when I read the script and I discovered that it was set in Yale, I was thrilled because, in a way, I like to deal with archetypes and to deal with the great American landscape, and of course the Ivy League world is so important to America, but also to us as European. It reflects on us a lot. So the idea of telling a story that it happened at Yale gives a sense of universality to it and an infrastructure that is so cinematic. And as you said, the idea that Yale is a world within a world, the world of New Haven. And in fact, you see that. You see the private apartment of Alma being off the campus. So you see the different layers of this society clashing. Was quite strong. We really shot this in London completely. We created with the production designer of this movie, which is here, Stefano Baisi, with whom I collaborated on Queer, the world, but we really wanted to be sure that we were kind of be truthful to it. So we literally remade the Beinecke Library or the main quad. And then we discovered in this extensive time of research that there were places like the Three Sheet Bar or the Tandoor restaurant where these characters could have gone. So we asked permission to replicate them. So everything you see, it's basically an articulation of what would be in Yale, but we did with the magic of cinema, the magic of production design and build and set decoration. The place that we kind of invented was the apartment of Frederick and Alma, for which we really thought about this idea of a place to be also sort of biography for these characters. In that place, you can see who they are, where they come from, what their powers stand, and what their secrets stands. Every room has secrets and fleshing out of power and history.
And I guess I want to just dig in a little. I understand what you're saying about the power structure, but the just extraordinary lengths of recreating like an entire tandoori restaurant or a library. Is that for the cast? Is it for some feeling of fidelity that you have to the institution?
I think it's about cinema. You know, like I dreamt of making film when I was a kid, and to play with movie making, it's what I really ask my life to be, and I'm very lucky and proud. I'm working with cinema itself here, you see, and all of them. So, like, I think I have a wonderful studio behind me, Amazon MGM, who believe in the project in a way that was really empowering us to go deep and really wide and detailed. I think that the idea that you can immerse a sort of like story of power, story of what's truth, what's the truth, and to play with these concepts also in the way in which you represent it, I think is fantastic.
I'm wondering, you might not have an answer for this, but I'm wondering what the attraction to you is to Provocation.
I think I'm a kind guy. I'm not. Am I?
But see, you're assuming that I'm saying that Provocation is necessarily negative, and
Well, I don't like with what they say. I don't like to scandalize for the sake of it. I think that's a little bit childish, and I hope I'm not. I think we, again, you know, you marry with artists to do something that challenges us, that let us do what we feel we want. We aim to be the best we can do in every ways, and as craftsmanship, and also as arrays of ideas displayed on the film. Then the movie becomes alive in the eyes of the beholder, of the audience, which is the final cut is in the audience, I would say. Because if you are watching a movie and then you fall asleep for 10 minutes and then you wake up, that movie you've seen is another movie. Every one of you guys and us as an audience member, we have the power of understanding the movie from our perspective, and I respect that so much. And I'm before everything else, I am a spectator. I am an audience member because I grew up being a film lover. And film, for me, has always been an experience that transformed me, that changed me, that made me want to become something else, that made me change my mind on things, that could have also provoked me in a way that made me uncomfortable. And then I had asked myself, why was I uncomfortable? And that was the power of art, dealing with that. So, am I a provocateur? No, I don't think so. Do I like to make movies that makes the audience feel for what they are seeing? I do, very, very much.
Great. I think we're going to open it up to the audience question briefly. Now, just before we start, there are people in a spillover room, so raise your hand. Someone will come to you with a microphone, but please wait until a microphone gets to you before you speak.
Hello, congratulations to everyone on the film. I thought it was really good. This is a question for Ayo. There is a clip of you that went viral where you had to explain to a reporter that the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements are not over. I wonder if you saw the online response to that exchange, how you feel about it, and if there was anything else you wanted to add.
I think I'm like less online than I used to be, so yeah, clap for peace of mind. So I didn't really, to be completely honest, and I love to lie. I make money lying. Just kidding. But yeah, I didn't really pay too much attention, but I mean, I think it's just like a very human moment, and I think in a strange way, like uncomfortable conversation, it's kind of one of the many things our film is about, so shout out to tie-ins, I don't know. That's what I got.
Hello, I wanted to ask, this is really for anybody that feels comfortable answering it. I felt like something that was recurring in the film was the theme, I guess, of people making assumptions about someone based off of their work and their output, making assumptions about their ethics or their character, and I wanted to hear your own experiences with that as artists and as filmmakers, and also the extent to which you think that those sort of assumptions can be valid when it comes to making assumptions about someone's ethics based off of their output.
You are not going to get a hand raised up here, I can just tell you that. You got to pick a person. You got to put a person on a spot.
Giving you. He doesn't have the mic anymore.
Luca, you answer it. You're the smartest.
I think that every movie, there is a sort of like exciting thing to tackle, you know, right? Like when you do a romance, it's about how you film the love scenes or the falling in love moments, and that's my special effect for that movie. Or if you do a movie like Suspiria, whether it's witchcraft or dance, that's the special effect of it. In this case, philosophy was the special effect of the movie, and that was like fun to play with it. To be accurate in the way in which they were talking and they were responding to each other about those topics. But that's, for me, it's the fun of seeing them playing these characters that are so thoughtful, so full of truths that they think they own, and yet they are kind of completely in contradictions with their own truths in the way they behave. So for me, it's that is the most interesting thing. And you know, like in the scene where Alma like scolds her 4 students, I think that's an incredible moment of performance. I mean, I love to see you there so much. It's one of my favorite scenes, to see how you play, and also how Tadia and Will react to the scene, great actors in the scene. But what is important in that moment is more about the dynamic of power between them, and how, you know, like these characters can be blinded by their ideas of truth. And the philosophy, it's what will be maybe one day, what is it, food in I Am Love?
Hello, this is a question for Luca. What went behind your thought process to end the film on the 20 and then you yelling cut?
Well, it's difficult for me to answer because I love that every one of you guys make up your mind about that. Having said that, I have these 2 great ladies, and there is this finale that is about a sort of like false reconciliation and maybe a needed reconciliation between these 2 women. And they've been fighting over imposing on one another their own truth and being hurt by the incapacity of one another to understand their own truth and their secrets, and ultimately trying to find a way to own their powers in their hands. And after the hunt, after the dust settles, with the distance of time and with the comfortability of the blanket of snow that kind of like silences everything, all the screams and all the furies, they understand what one didn't want from the other and the other way around, and what they got and what they lost. But what is always going to be at the center of their lives is capital. And that's it. And once we say cut, we invite the audience to think that this is a movie, and we wanted to entertain them, and we wanted to tell the story from this perspective and this point of view. And then it's an homage to George Cukor, of course, the rich and famous.
I love the ending. I love the cut. So it reminds me of, well, the last speech of Midsummer Night's Dream that Puck has to the audience: if we shadows have offended, think but this is all is mended, blah, blah, blah. And also like what Mark Rylance would do at the Globe, where they would finish whatever show they were doing, and no matter whether it was a tragedy or a comedy, they would do a traditional Shakespearean era, Victorian era, like dance. Like Hamlet's dead, and then he like resuscitates, and they do this very like jaunty dance at the end, and then the audience go from like sobbing with catharsis to being like, oh, it wasn't real. Okay, good, it wasn't real. We can go back, and I can think of it. I don't know. I found that very, very moving, and I haven't really seen that in cinema. I've seen it in theater, but not in cinema. Radical, provocateur, some might say.
Positive provocateur.
Like a very positive, nurturing provocateur.
We have time for a couple more, I think.
Hi, this is for Luca, and from a European perspective, do you think there is like a wake-up call for the cancel culture in the United States?
Oh my God, what a question. I really don't know how to answer this question. It's fascinating.
Maybe you should answer it over at the UN right now.
If they invite me,
That might be
I am
helpful.
underdressed. Should I go? There's time to change. I think that wake-up calls would come for all of us to really listen to one another. That's the only thing that I really, really fondly care for. I love people, and I love to listen to people, and I love to argue with people. I love to change my mind from the way people think and see things. It's the beauty of life.
I'm sorry. Can I add something? I was very privileged to be on the jury of the Morocco Film Festival this year with Luca as the jury president. And we were about 2.5 hours into deliberations, and a couple of people were like, "Oh, can we just go to the fucking bar already? Like, we decided, right?" And Luca was like, "Guys, we are not going to be in the same room together ever again. This group of people is never going to be in the same room together again, and we're not going to be able to argue lovingly, shout at each other lovingly, agree lovingly. This is why I want to be alive. This is the only thing that keeps me," well, not the only thing, I'm paraphrasing, but like, it gets his blood moving. Like, we are dialectical creatures, and I learned that word from him as well. And it's beautiful. It's very creatures, and it's very inspiring to be around, because just to honor that aspect of you as a man and as a filmmaker, and one of the reasons why we all want to, be here with you.
But I feel like that's also the thing about Luca's movies for me, is that like every time I've left the cinema, I'm talking, like I need somebody to talk to. I can't see one of your movies alone. If I do, I feel crazy, because I just need somebody to talk to about this thing that I've seen, or this image that I somehow have never seen, even though it feels so familiar. Or like if I am upset or frustrated, like I just need somebody to talk about it with. Like that's why, I don't know, you hope to make movies also, is to nurture conversation and to like just shake yourself up. But yeah, it's making me think of your question earlier too about like our preconceived notions. Which I don't know. I was like, it's such a good question. But I just want to like talk about it. It was a good question. I'm sorry, none of us could answer it.
Well, in that spirit, I appreciate all of you coming to talk about the movie with us, because obviously it is a film that people really want to hear from the film crew about. So thank you so much.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
To open the New York Film Festival, if a lifetime achievement, that I will be grateful forever, and makes me so honored and happy. And we showed here a few of my movies at the festival, and I have carrying with myself the fond memories of the beauty of those screenings. But to be kicking the festival with our movie, with these wonderful friends, it's incredible. And so thank you.
Thank you.